Rocha, and I'm the owner of 3D Practice. And I want to thank everybody, first of all, for being on board with our webinar today. The webinar usually takes about 20-25 minutes or so, and we're going to talk about patient education using 3D graphics, 3D software for delivering a more powerful report of findings and improving compliance and acceptance as well. So why 3D patient education software? Well, there's a few reasons. One is better outcomes. So if we can inspire a patient, give them a really powerful, inspiring educational experience, much more likely to follow the care plan. There's going to be better compliance, certainly better acceptance up front, and then the outcome is likely to be better in the end as well too. So the other thing that it does is it actually shortens your report of findings as well too. So it doesn't force doctors to get out of the way or get into a different mode of report of findings. Really, it just takes all the charts and the models and everything that they've been using in the past, the textbooks, the drawing tools, and it puts this into software with very compelling graphics, very easy to deliver, very low learning curve for the doctor as well too. So you can install it, begin using it, become an expert at it very, very quickly. I'm going to show you a few testimonials here, and then we're going to get right to the product, go through some examples of how to use it as well. But first, as far as testimonials, here's a doctor that's been using my software for about the last 8 years, Dr. Dean Brown. He's in Tampa, Florida, and Dr. Brown says the patient must have a mental picture of what I'm teaching, and it must happen quickly. My practice continues to grow, and at its heart is patient education and virtual consultation software. Here's another one. It always surprises me how much a doctor will tell me monetarily what this product has meant for them. But here's a doctor that actually put it into words and said, and this is Dr. Christy Hoots in Indiana, and she said that I've closed over $200,000 of care that would have been lost had I not used this tool. Here's a doctor that recently purchased the software. His name is Dr. Scott Smith. And he actually purchased it about 3 weeks ago. I talked to him a week or so ago, and he told me that he now has his report of findings down to just 4 minutes, which I thought was amazing. So, okay, so that's the presentation, the PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to bring up the software now. That's what this is all about, basically, is introducing you to a patient education software product with compelling graphics, very easy to use. I think, in fact, I know it's going to help your practice grow, not only in terms of conversion rates and compliance, but you can also use it for marketing your practice as well too. So virtual consultation, it's been on the market since 2004. Over here on the left-hand side, this is kind of the bread and butter features of the product. So everything is 1 to 2 clicks away, and we designed it that way. We wanted you to be able to deliver a powerful report of findings within about 5 minutes or so. So if I click on any one of these, let's say a patient comes in, they have a disc condition, obviously very, very common. We set this up to look similar to an MRI. So if the patient does come in with their MRI, maybe they saw a different physician, now they want something a little bit more conservative in the way of care, they don't want to go to surgery, or they want to get off drugs or Advil, whatever it is. You can bring this up and have their MRI actually make sense to them. If you just do a functional test, you didn't do an MRI, this is still very powerful. So we can show things like a left lateral bulging disc, right? Explain the patient the annulus, the pulposus, the lateral view, the axial view. It's going to look just like an MRI if that does come in. With one click over on the upper right-hand side, I could switch that to a centrally bulging disc, right? One more click, I can switch it to a right lateral, or in this case, I'm going to switch to a posterior lateral herniation with free fragment. So over on the right-hand side, the very far right near the bottom, there's a little icon there. It looks like a book or a set of books, and it says source. When I click on that, it'll tell you where we got our information from. And we used the Oakham and Rose textbook quite a bit when we created this product. So that's just an example. It's a great way to explain to patients what they have in the way of a disc condition. If we switch it back to a lateral bulging disc, now if we want, we can use the drawing tool and we can kind of illustrate to them how we're going to treat it. So a doctor may be using a technique, let's say it's flexion distraction or something like decompression. You can actually illustrate that to the patient. Let them know that with those light forces that are being applied, you can actually get this disc to retract and take the pressure off that spinal nerve there. Now, likewise, a lot of doctors I talk to will say, well, we do that, but we also mobilize that joint with spinal adjustments so we can target that segment. move those vertebrae a little bit, get the pressure off that nerve, get that disc to retract. Okay, so every patient's going to want to know this as well. What's wrong with me, but am I in the right place? Can you help me? This tool very, very quickly allows you to show that. There is a report generator in here as well, so it allows you to generate a report. And basically in the report, you can lay out the plan of care. So you can have the care plan laid out, you can have information about their condition, how you're going to treat it. You can create all the custom comments you want, reuse them over and over. There's actually exercises in the product as well too. So let's take it a step further. Let's say that patient says, well, what's a spinal adjustment, doc? I've heard about it. I know it's cracking and popping. What does that mean? What is it really doing? A little bit concerned about this. One click more, and now we're in the spinal adjustment video clip, and we can go ahead and click on that. We're going to show this. I'm just going to click play in this case. We'll show a doctor applying a spinal adjustment. We can see the patient, and we show you their spine, and now we zoom into the body. You can see the nerve is red. The adjustment is applied, bang, just like that. The disc retracts, taking the pressure off that spinal nerve there. So that's just a nice way to give them a visual so they feel good about it. If we click on degeneration, spinal degeneration up here on the on this top button right there, what we're going to do is we're going to see a set of animations side by side. Left-hand side is going to be an X-ray animation. Right-hand side is going to be a color 3D model with the muscles. And then we can advance this in, by the way, if we want to switch it over to a lumbar, we can just with one click switch that over to lumbar degeneration too. So here we can go ahead and show cervical degeneration. We can use the drawing tool and we can kind of illustrate and talk about the cervical curvature here, what the patient should have. But maybe you have an X-ray, or even if you don't, you can explain to them where they may be. So you could say this is normal, maybe because your posture's been so bad for years, maybe you were traumatized, rear impact auto collision, whatever it is. Now you've compensated and your posture, your cervical curvature is here and it's going in this direction without the proper care. Okay, so we can show exactly where they should be, where they are, and where they're going without the proper care. Likewise, if we get rid of the lines, we can also just click play. And there's a real important concept here that I love showing. Several doctors actually asked me to put this in. So we show the spinal cord. We'll show the nerve impulses firing. Everything looks good. It's firing fast. Everything's moving. But watch how those nerve impulses slow down as the degeneration gets worse and worse. And what we've got there is spinal cord tension, a narrowing of the spinal cord. And we know from the studies and the research that that affects the nervous system as well too. So those are just 3 animations in here, very popular. Again, everything is 1 to 2 clicks away. I can show you more of that in a few minutes. Let me just cover some of the other features of the product. So if we go over to the right-hand side of the product, obviously there's a drawing tool in there. We can see underneath that there's another icon that says capture. Now what that allows you to do, and this is really valuable, is that we can click on that little capture button and it'll take a screenshot of exactly what we're showing the patient. So, and we can take up to 8 screenshots, which is way more than enough. So if a patient comes in and maybe they've got a disc condition, maybe it was caused by a pronated foot, they've got knee degeneration, you can bring up those animations. As you're explaining what that patient has in the way of conditions, you can click on the capture button and it'll capture those images. It automatically puts it into the report, and the report will actually contain those images, and it allows you to put in information about their condition as well, a little bit more information, the care plan, exercises, all of that as well too. And I can show you that in a minute. Likewise, there are more animations in here. Over here where it says 360, that's another button that you can click on. And what it'll do is it'll bring up more animations like what I was showing you. But those animations have a graphics engine, meaning that you can not only play those animations, but you can turn them and zoom in and look at them from different angles. Why is that important? Well, let's say we bring up the dermatomes feature, right? So we click on these nerve charts here. Here's the original dermatomes. Now you can't really see what's going on. You can't see how those patterns wrap around the body. But if I bring up the dermatomes that's in this 3D section that has the graphics engine, that one is actually interactive. So we'll bring that up here. It's going to pop up in a second. You can turn it, zoom in, look at it from, zoom out, zoom in, look at it from different angles as well too. So, and then we also have another feature that shows rear impact auto collision. It's very valuable to be able to turn and zoom in and look at that from different angles. Same thing with the trigger points and other stuff. But here is the 3D dermatomes that has the graphics engine. So I can click on, let's say, the C8 nerve, and we can see how that wraps around the body. If we go down to, let's say, the L4, we can see how that pattern wraps around the body, also the insides of the foot. It's just a little bit more complete picture for the patient. It's an advantage that our software gives you over other maybe images, other videos that you'll find out there that don't have that capability. We mentioned rear impact auto collisions. So for those doctors that do personal injury, they tend to love this. Attorneys love it as well. This is the only one on the market that I know of that shows a rear impact auto collision, but we use a graphics engine to show you what happens from different angles. So if you wanted to draw on the screen, there's a drawing tool built in. If we want to go ahead and play this animation, we can do so. We can also zoom in and watch what happens specifically to the cervical spine during the impact, or we can watch it from a broad view and see the mechanics occur. So if we start out broad, we can click on here, play. Let's pause it right there. You can see the body is lifting upward. We can see the formation of the S curve. Let's go back a little further. Hyperextension, hyperflexion. So we've played this animation all the way through, but we're not finished. We can zoom right in. We can see the C4 vertebrae has slid forward. Why is that? Let me flip it around to the back. We can see there's tearing of the facet capsules on both sides. There's also tearing of the posterior longitudinal ligament. And if we go to the front, we can see tearing of the anterior longitudinal ligament as well. So it's just great to be able to show this from different angles. Like I said, it's the only one on the market that I know of that actually does that. If we want to play it from the frontal view, see what's happened, swing it around from the side view, watch it, zoom in, we can do that as well too. So it's very cool, very functional. There's also a 3D trigger points in here as well. So with that graphics engine, we could take a model like this that has 360 individual muscles. We can put 158 trigger points on those muscles. Now, when we move the mouse cursor over any of those trigger points, it gives us the corresponding muscle name. So if I click on, let's say, pectoralis major, we can see the 3 trigger points, we can see the muscle, and we can see the pattern associated with it as well too. Let's click again, they all come back. We can zoom into the thigh. That's called the vastus intermedius muscle. We can see the pattern, we can see the muscle. Click on that trigger point. Let's go around to the back. Let's go to the piriformis. Click on that. We can see the muscle, the pattern. Now, if I click on that little sprocket to the right, we can see the pattern associated with it as well, but we can turn up the color intensity, or we can change it from red to blue, whichever you prefer. So there's just another example. I'll close that down. Very, very easy to use this. So whatever the patient's condition is, you click, you show them. Get away from using the paper charts, get away from using the plastic models. They've been around since the beginning of time almost, it seems like. And it's just, now imagine your patients who are using videos online and finding things on YouTube and that look much more compelling than what the doctors use, and it doesn't necessarily make the doctor look great. So that's where we come in. There's also built-in videos. So if I continue clicking down in this order here, there's a little icon that says videos. There is an introduction to chiropractic care video that's 6 minutes long. It uses graphics from this program and explains what chiropractic care is about, a little bit about the qualifications of the doctor, how we treat patients, so on and so forth. Or if we don't want to run that canned introduction to chiropractic care video, we can go ahead and check off some of these animations. Maybe we want to explain bulging disc and scoliosis and kyphosis. We just took a handful of our animations and put them in here, but added voice narration. So if you want to run this in a passive mode, have it run in your reception room, your lobby, you can do that as well too. And then we click go, it's going to play these in the order you check them off. And again, each one of those has voice narration too. So that's an overview of virtual consultation. One of the other things we can do is we can actually generate a report too. So we can generate a report with care plan, exercises, all of that as well. And why don't I go through an example of that? But before I do that, I'm going to talk about some of these other animations here. So let's go through some scenarios. Let's say a patient comes in, they've got a disc condition, they've got lower back pain, so we can show them the disc ailments, but they're going to want to know, and you're going to want to understand, where did it all come from? How do we correct it so this patient can live more pain-free down the road? Let's say it was caused by a pronated foot. So with one click on foot and ankle, it comes up. We can quickly show a patient a pronated foot. Excuse me. Likewise, maybe we want to talk about the chain reaction, because they do have problems with their lumbar spine now. So that pronated foot that wasn't taken care of over time, it's caused problems with the knees. It's also caused lower lumbar pain. You can see the hips have actually dropped on one side, the shoulders have dropped on the other side as well too. And from there, you can go over to the disc ailments. So again, it doesn't force you to explain things any differently. It just gives you the graphics and the easy navigation system so that you can just click 1 to 2 times, show them exactly what you want to show them there. Posture. Patients may come in, let's say they have poor posture. We can go ahead and click on the posture set of animations. It's going to show things like hyperkyphosis, hyperlordosis. We also show somebody that's texting and somebody that's sitting at their desk with improper posture. So here's hyperkyphosis. I think it's always great to go ahead and draw on the screen here as well, so we can say, look, this is what your spine should look like all the way down, but if you don't take care, it's going to continue to get worse and worse and worse. Right? So this is where you should be. This is hyperkyphosis. Likewise, we can, with one click, switch it to hyperlordosis. And then with one more click, we can talk about poor posture at the desk. On the right-hand side, we can also talk about the problems associated with texting all the time, which is obviously becoming an epidemic. So in the neutral position, standing neutral, patient's head weighs 10 to 12 pounds. But when they're just tilted forward 15 degrees, now it's 27 pounds. 30 degrees, it's 40 pounds. So just imagine being able to do a talk, to students, or to you can create a topic basically and record all this, put it on your website. You can record all this and put it on your Facebook page. It could be all about posture. It could be how this leads to, degeneration of the cervical spine or degeneration of the lumbar spine, how it affects the nervous system. If you want to get into that, obviously here's the original dermatones that we introduced with the product many years ago. Or we can go to the myotones. We can go to the peripheral nervous system. Talk about how pain may radiate down one or both legs if there's a lower lumbar issue. Maybe it's a lower cervical issue and pain radiates down the shoulders, down the arms, into the hands, so on and so forth. And then likewise, the autonomic nervous system is in here as well too. So the product was actually introduced to the market in 2004. We've been adding to it and making it better and better, and just always looking for feedback from doctors, always trying to find reputable sources and relationships so we put the right content in the program. But it's gone through many, many, many iterations. We're actually on version 12.1 right now. So that's, I think, a pretty good overview of the product. As far as the report generator, when you sit down with the patient, you can click, you can capture whatever information you want, whatever images you want as you're going through. And then you would just one click on the report, you bring this up, the report generator, and it will automatically open up to the practice information section. So you put your logo in there one time, you put the name of your practice one time, practice information, a description of your practice. Here we call it a narrative, it's just a description of your practice. And then we also put in the patient's name. That's the one piece you have to put in every time. Once you set up this narrative section here with the practice information, and this other box here with the practice information, practice name, the logo, you set that up one time, you never have to touch that again. For the next patient that comes in, you just change the name. So it remembers all this information. And then you can go over to whatever the condition is. So if they had, let's say, a disc condition, you can say, well, you've got a L3, L4, this degenerated and bulging, we know that. This one's actually herniated and there's some stenosis, so on and so forth. If there's any other conditions, let's say there's an SI joint condition, we have animations for all that. We can show imbalance, inflammation, degeneration, grab the corresponding images very quickly. You have to explain it to the patient anyway, so you might as well click and grab those images, and then this takes about a minute to generate the report. The image gallery will have the images in there that you've captured. If you want to throw one away, you can just click to remove it. And then we can go ahead and set up the phases of care. So you can call it whatever you want. And again, it'll remember this information. Tweak these numbers up and down, and so forth, so on and so forth. And that's what a patient's going to want to know. What's wrong with me? So you show them a condition. Can you help? You explain to them, you draw on the screen, you can show them some of the things like spinal adjustment, maybe you're doing laser, all that stuff is in there. Comments. And by the way, and then the phases of care is going to allow you to say, this is how we get you better. And I'll show you what the report looks like. You create the custom comments, you click on new comment, type it in, save, give it a name. It's going to show up over here on the left-hand side, and then you just reuse them over and over again. So you select add, let's select add again. And then the last thing that you may want to put in there, and you can put whatever you want. You may say, well, I don't need exercises for this patient just yet. This is a first visit. I want to use the program, show some things. Maybe on the second visit. So don't worry about the exercises or maybe the comments. But when you're ready for the exercises, they're here. We have cervical stretching and strengthening, lumbar stretching and strengthening, and ball exercises in here. And you can click on any one of these. Once you click on it, it's going to ask for the hold times, repeat times, number of times per day, and go with that. And let's go with the next one, save it off. Once you're done, you can click on this, you can save it off, you can print it off, whichever you want to do. You can even email a PDF file. If I bring up one of these as well, let's just see what this looks like. Here's a report. This is what the report would look like. So first page of the report, remember we talked about your logo, practice name, a description of your practice. It's all there. It even grabs the date from the computer. The one piece you have to put in there every time is the patient's name. Next page is going to be information about their condition, those screen captures. Here we just have 2. You can capture up to 8 of them. It'll automatically format that, size them for you, and fit them into the page as well too. And then the treatment plan. And that's really important. So exactly what you show the patient during that consultation, that report of findings, is exactly what's in this printed report. A lot of doctors will grab paper charts and plastic models and textbooks, and then they'll hand a patient a brochure and say, here's what's going on, put it all together, and please give us a call. We think we can help you. So this puts it all into one basic format. So comments, they're in there as well. You can have as many of them as you want. It'll concatenate one after the next, and then the exercises are in here too. So it has a picture of someone doing the exercise, explains how to do it, and then the hold times and repeat times and number of times per day. So with that said, that is an overview of virtual consultation. Now you can also capture some of these images, and if you want to put some of that on your website, you can. If you want to put some of that on your Facebook page, you can. We just ask that you use our logo, put our logo in there as well too. So I think that's a pretty good overview of the product. If you have questions, feel free to give me a call. My name again is Robert Rocha. I'm the owner of 3D Practice. You can give me a call. I'm going to write my number right here. I'll give you the toll free. It's 866-399-4009. And that's it. So hope everybody has a wonderful day. I want to thank you for making time to watch and attend our webinar today. Again, feel free to call me if you have any questions. I'd be glad to help you. If you feel like you'd like to get going with the product, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee on the product. I think you'll love it. If you have any questions, again, feel free to give us a call, or you can call us to place an order as well too. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.